This is Channel 7 Eyewitness News with Jay Scott and Rolando Watts. Scott Clark with sports, Bill Evans with the exclusive AccuWeather forecast, and the Eyewitness News team. Now, Eyewitness News.
A dawn of death. A suspicious fire races through the packed Happy Land Social Club in the Bronx, killing 87 people, the worst in New York in 79 years.
You don't forget. Something sticks with you like that.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rolando Watts. That firefighter said it all. It is a scene we will never forget, a catastrophe we will never forget. And less than an hour ago, Mayor Dinkins confirmed that police may have the man who may be responsible for it all. Police have under arrest at this hour a man identified as Julio Gonzalez. He is 36 years old and lives in the Bronx. He is being charged with arson. He is also being charged with murder. Right now, you're looking at a live picture of the Happy Land Social Club. Police think that Gonzalez went there this morning with a grudge. They think he didn't like the idea of a girlfriend working there. So he set fire to a coat room, possibly with gasoline. The club turned into a death trap because the flames blocked both exits and the club had no windows. Now, to give you an idea of the exact location of this tragedy, take a look at this map of New York City. The Happy Land Club is located in the East Tremont section of the Bronx. That area is in red on your map. It is located on Southern Boulevard at the intersection of Tremont Avenue. Now, this is, of course, a rapidly developing story. We're getting new information in all the time. To sort out what we have so far, let's go to Lewis Young right now, who joins us live from the 48th Precinct in the Bronx for more on tonight's arrest.
The Happy Land Social Club fire, a tragedy that changed New York City. Good morning, everyone. Today, I want to talk about one of the deadliest and most heartbreaking fires in New York City history, the Happy Land Social Club fire, which occurred in the Bronx on March 25, 1990. This tragedy claimed 87 lives, devastated families and communities, and exposed serious failures in public safety that would lead to lasting change. This is not just a story about a fire. It is a story about immigrant communities, neglected safety laws, domestic violence, and the consequences of ignoring warning signs. Most importantly, it is a story about people, young men and women, who went out to dance, celebrate, and enjoy life and never came home. 1. Setting the scene, the Bronx in 1990. To understand what happened at Happy Land, we need to understand the context. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, parts of the Bronx were still recovering from years of poverty, arson, and disinvestment. Many buildings were poorly maintained, and illegal businesses often operated because inspections were rare or ignored. The Happy Land Social Club was one of these places. It was located at 1959 Southern Boulevard in a two-story building. The club catered mainly to immigrants from Honduras and the Dominican Republic, many of whom worked long hours and used places like Happy Land as a space to relax, dance, and feel connected to their culture. The club was popular, especially on weekends. On the night of March 24th into the early morning of March 25th, the club was crowded with people celebrating, dancing to Caribbean music, and enjoying each other's company. No one inside knew they were in extreme danger. 2. An illegal and unsafe club. Happy Land was not legally allowed to operate as a nightclub. The building had no working fire alarms, no sprinklers, no emergency lighting, only one narrow exit stairway, no valid liquor or cabaret license. The second floor, where most people were dancing, had bars on the windows, preventing escape. Inspectors had previously shut the club down, but it reopened illegally. This lack of enforcement would later be recognized as a major failure by city agencies. Still, on that night, nearly 100 people were inside the club. 3. The events leading up to the fire. The fire was not an accident. A man named Julio Gonzalez, a 36-year-old Cuban immigrant, had been drinking at the club with his girlfriend. The two got into a heated argument. Gonzalez became aggressive, and bouncers threw him out of the club. Angry and humiliated, Gonzalez stood outside the building. Instead of leaving, he went to a nearby gas station, bought $2 worth of gasoline, returned to the club, and waited. Shortly after 3:30 a.m., Gonzalez poured gasoline on the only stairway leading to the second floor and set it on fire. That single act sealed the fate of nearly everyone inside. 4. The fire itself. The fire spread instantly. Gasoline ignited the stairway in seconds, creating a wall of flames that blocked the only exit. Thick, black smoke filled the building, rising quickly to the second floor where most people were trapped. People panicked. They screamed. They ran toward exits that did not exist. Some tried to break through barred windows. Others collapsed from smoke inhalation before they could even reach the stairs. Many died not from burns, but from toxic smoke that filled their lungs within minutes. The fire department arrived quickly, but by the time firefighters got inside, the damage was already done. 87 people were dead. Many were found piled near the stairway, where they had tried desperately to escape. 5. Who the victims were. Most of the victims were young adults, many in their late teens and 20s. They were dishwashers, construction workers, factory workers, students, parents, friends, siblings. Many were undocumented immigrants, which made the tragedy even more painful. Some families were afraid to come forward to identify loved ones. Others struggled to arrange funerals or return bodies to their home countries. Entire families were destroyed in a single night. The loss rippled through the Bronx and across international borders, especially to Honduras and the Dominican Republic. The victims of the Happy Land Social Club fire. The 87 people who died in the Happy Land Social Club fire were not statistics. They were individuals with families, ambitions, and everyday struggles. Many of the members of immigrant communities already living on the margins. Most of the victims were young adults, many between the ages of 18 and 30. After long workdays, they had come to the club seeking music, connection, and a brief escape from the pressures of life in a new country. For immigrant communities in the Bronx, places like Happy Land were more than nightclubs. They were cultural sanctuaries where people could speak their native languages, hear familiar music, and feel a sense of belonging. A large number of those who died were from Honduras and the Dominican Republic, along with others from across the Caribbean and Latin America. Some were undocumented, which made the aftermath even more painful. Families hesitated to contact authorities, fearing immigration consequences while desperately searching for missing loved ones. Many victims worked in low-paying, physically demanding jobs: construction workers, restaurant employees, factory laborers, cleaners, and delivery workers. Some sent money home to support parents, siblings, or children. In several cases, entire families depended on a single income, meaning the tragedy caused lasting financial hardship in addition to profound emotional loss. The victims also included teenagers and very young adults who had only just begun their lives in the United States. Some had arrived only months earlier. Others were students hoping to build better futures. Several were parents, leaving behind children who would grow up without them. One of the most devastating aspects of the fire was how little chance many had to escape. With only one exit and barred windows, people were trapped almost immediately. Investigators later confirmed that most victims died from smoke inhalation rather than burns, overwhelmed within minutes. Many bodies were found near the stairway, evidence of desperate attempts to flee that were cut short by flames. In the days that followed, identifying the victims proved painfully difficult. Some bodies were burned beyond recognition, and many victims carried no identification. Families waited days, sometimes weeks, for confirmation. In several cases, relatives traveled from other countries to New York to identify remains. The emotional toll on the Bronx was immense. Entire circles of friends were lost. Some apartment buildings mourned multiple residents. Churches and community centers became spaces for grief, translation, and support. Funerals followed one another, and in some cases, victims were returned to their home countries for burial. What makes these deaths especially tragic is that they were entirely preventable. Proper regulation, functional exits, and enforced safety laws could have saved many lives. Today, the victims are remembered not only for how they died, but for who they were: workers, sons and daughters, friends, parents, and dreamers. People who came together one night in search of joy and were failed by the systems meant to protect them. Voices of loss and survival. The following real quotes from survivors and family members give voice to the human impact of the Happy Land Social Club fire, putting faces and feelings behind the 87 lives lost in the Bronx in 1990. Loss and memory. It's something that we've lived through already, but there are no words for this. Isabel Gamoneda, who lost 2 brothers in the fire, describing how the trauma still resurfaces decades later when she encounters smoke or chaos. Echoes of suffering. Maybe my brothers screamed for help like that, and no one helped them. Isabel Gamoneda, reflecting on the terror of her siblings' final moments. Personal connections lost. I know about 40 people I lost over there. Franco Mina, recalling the cousins and friends he expected to see at the club that night. Survivors' lasting memories. So we walked toward here. By that time, it was already over, and you could see them pulling out the body bags, and that memory never leaves my mind, even 25 years later. Jessie Gallardo, a survivor who lost 3 cousins in the fire, remembering the dead. She did all these little angels made out of plaster, and she put every single person's name on it. Luis Muniz, describing how his mother honored the victims, including 2 of her brothers, cherished family bonds. He was my favorite uncle. He used to show me how to cook. He used to take me to different family events. Pablo Blanco, remembering his uncle Mario Martinez, who died in the fire. Growing up without them. You don't really remember, and that sucks. Jaffrey Gautry, who lost her father at age 3 and grew up writing letters to him because she had no memories of him. Why these voices matter. These testimonies remind us that grief endures. Decades later, families continue to carry the trauma. Communities were shattered. Some survivors lost dozens of friends and relatives in one night. Memories remain vivid. Survivors recall the sights and sounds of the fire with painful clarity. These were lives, not numbers, behind the number 87 and names, stories, and relationships that still matter.
Lou.
Well, Rolanda, we've been told now that there were 92 people in the social club when the fire broke out. Only 5 survived. Among the survivors, the disc jockey who was working on the 2nd floor. He is recovering from critical burns tonight at Jacobi Hospital. As for the suspect picked up this afternoon, 36-year-old Julio Gonzalez, who was born in Cuba and lives not far from here in the Bronx, is here at the 48th precinct charged with arson and murder, as you mentioned. He is a man who allegedly had an argument with a female employee at the social club prior to the fire. Police believe he returned to the club with cans of gasoline to exact a terrible revenge, an act of arson. It was a hellish scene in the pre-dawn darkness on Southern Boulevard. So many bodies, so many people killed with savage swiftness by a fire that raced through the illegal bar and dance club, cruelly named the Happy Land Social Club, where 87 people died this morning in the Bronx.
Come on, my brother's dead! No! My brother's dead!
The heat and smoke apparently killed most of the people here. Bodies were literally piled throughout the 2-story building, most of them on the upper level. It was a relatively small one-alarm blaze. The fire department arrived on the scene quickly, but it was already too late.
Our people arrived within 3 minutes of the alarm when the alarm was transmitted. They arrived, they had fire out of both doors in the front.
It was laid out roughly like this. A public staircase at the rear is where most patrons climbed up to the dance floor. A wall cut the room roughly in half. A bar ran along the right wall. In the front, near the DJ's booth, there was a second steep staircase, almost like a stepladder. That's probably how the DJ managed to get to the street through the flames. But the fire spread so fast, the rest of the people had no real chance for survival. The oxygen must have vanished in seconds. The mayor, shaken from seeing this horror up close, vowed to shut down other such illegal fire traps in the city.
Part of what we need the media to assist us in doing is to spread the tale of these gruesome circumstances so that the general public will know that these are not safe places to which to go. And believe me, if anyone could view it and witness it, they would not wish to go. I don't care how good the music, how fine the company, how great the camaraderie. They would not want to be there.
This fire that has so touched the mayor and everyone who has visited the scene here today is New York's 2nd worst such disaster this century. Only the Great Triangle Shirt Factory fire of 1911 killed more people. It occurred exactly 79 years ago today, March 25th, again an infamous day in our city's history. So again, a suspect is in custody, 36-year-old Julio Gonzalez of the Bronx, charged with arson and murder. 87 people died in the fire. And one of the survivors who walked out, the woman who was allegedly the object of the attack, walked out unscathed, we are told this afternoon. We're live in the Bronx. Louis Young, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Up until that report from Louis Young, the report that you just heard live, we only knew of one known injured survivor of this catastrophe. All we know about that survivor is that he is a male and is listed in stable condition at Bronx Municipal Hospital. He has not been identified beyond those scant facts. He is suffering from burns. Meantime, at the 48th precinct, police continue to search through the clothing and personal belongings of the victims in an effort to identify those who died. It is painstaking business, and few have been positively identified at this hour. As you can well imagine, this business of waiting to hear about the fate of loved ones feared dead in a fire is excruciatingly painful for frightened families. Families who fear the worst but continue to pray for the best. For word that maybe, somehow, that loved one might not be listed among the dead. But as the identification process continues, they wait outside the fire scene as the minutes pass like hours. Celeste Ford is standing by at PS 67, the command post, with the very latest on the ordeal of the relatives. Celeste?
Jay, it's simply a massive misery here as hundreds of people gather inside and outside this elementary school waiting to identify victims. So far, at least 52 have been named among the 87 loved ones lost. The first few hours following the fire were marked by confusion and fear. Hundreds of family members and friends gathered at the scene of the disaster, forming a somber vigil. Many weren't yet sure whether their loved ones were among the victims.
I feel so powerless. I wish I knew my relatives were in there, but we don't know. We don't know yet.
Others had already given up hope.
There's no way to describe what I'm feeling. No words. No words.
Around 8 o'clock this morning, rescue workers began the grim task of removing the bodies. One after another, they were carried out, a gut-wrenching sight. Because most of the victims died from smoke inhalation, authorities decided to rely on visual identifications. They photographed and tagged each body before sending it to the medical examiner's office. Those photos were then taken to the temporary command center at PS 67.
What we're trying to do is to expedite as quickly as possible the identification of the possible relatives.
An emotional crowd packed the front of the school. At one point, a woman was overcome by the stress and fainted. Finally, family members were allowed to go inside and view the photos, learning for themselves what happened. Heart-rending scenes followed as people grieved, some silently, others in emotional outbursts. This young man lost his father. Kelly Mena lost his only brother.
I can't take it. I can't take it. It's my only brother. Only brother. I don't know what I'm going to do now.
To give you an idea of the heartache here, the Red Cross says one family lost 8 people, another lost 4. The Red Cross is providing counseling for family members, also other services, including money for those who can't afford a burial. Finally, we hope to have a list with all the victims' names on it by late tonight or tomorrow. We're live in the Bronx. I'm Celeste Ford, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
It is, of course, scant comfort, but police have set up a hotline for friends and relatives, and now we stress friends and relatives of the victims. For information on the Happy Land fire, call 212-227-1691 for people who speak English. And for Spanish speakers, the number is, as you read it on your screen right now, 212-374-4280. That number again is 212-374-4280. We will run these numbers for you throughout this broadcast.
And Jay, tonight, Mayor David Dinkins is waging an all-out war against these illegally operating social clubs. He has already appointed a special social club task force. And starting tonight, 20 teams of inspectors from the fire, from the building, and the police departments will begin knocking on doors and starting their inspection. At a press conference at City Hall just about an hour ago, the mayor said that first on that list, on that hit list, 173 social clubs that have already received vacate orders from the city. Dinkins vows that this city's tougher crackdown efforts are not going to be in vain.
I started to leave, and then I turned back. I said, I want to go back and look again.
Why?
Because I just wanted really etched in my mind what was there. So I assure you that we're going to do all that we can to avoid recurrence of this kind of thing.
Doug Johnson is standing by live at the Happy Land Social Club with more on the investigation of this tragedy. Doug.
Well, Rolanda, unfortunately, this sort of tragedy is not new to New York, especially here in the Bronx. These kinds of social clubs are very popular in poor neighborhoods, especially in Hispanic neighborhoods. As to how many of them are safe, well, that's quite another question. It is estimated there are some 700 social clubs like this in the city, mainly in Brooklyn and the Bronx. They're notorious for having safety violations. Building Commissioner Charles Smith saw the conditions inside Happy Land. He told me the building has a dark history.
This place was shut down November, December last year. and vacate was posted, so it wasn't to be occupied then. We're checking the records to see if anything has changed since that time.
Do you know anything about the history of it prior to that?
Well, it's, I think, had a history of, you know, complaints and so forth, not so much perhaps from buildings as from, as to the police moral squad and that, which is another dimension to the problem of some of the social clubs.
In 1988, 6 people died, 33 were injured in a fire in another social club in the Bronx. Following that, a task force closed down 15 others, charging many violations. However, the city admits keeping track of unsafe clubs like Happy Land is difficult.
Even when you pull the license and give orders for them to stop operating, they just go back into business, and regrettably, our inspectors are not out at night. Or if you look at this place, you're gonna, even if you drove by, unless you knew it was there, you can't imagine that it's a club. And we need the community's help all over the city to tell us or alert us about these kinds of problems. It's just not possible to do it through routine inspections, I would think.
Now, as Rolando said, the 173 clubs with vacate orders are going to be told to vacate now, according to the mayor. The other several hundred clubs, the mayor said they will all be visited. He hopes they will all be visited within the next 10 days. Now, this was, of course, a tragic fire. That's the problem of the fire department. Here with a report on that is N.J. Burkett.
Well, Doug, one question firefighters are asking themselves tonight is whether departmental budget cuts might have cost them valuable minutes. More on that in a moment, but first, the emotional trauma. Trauma that began this morning with a desperate call for help. The frantic screams came from a neighbor on a street corner call box.
It was frightening.
Seconds later, EMS Lieutenant Roy David was on the way.
I've been working in the Bronx for 17 years. You cringe, you hope for the best. You hope that it's not 100 people, that it's a mistake and they all got out somehow.
And you just had to stand here, right?
There's nothing else we could do. Just stand by and wait.
For EMS workers and firefighters, the images keep on burning long after the fire's been put out. The man who died reaching for a fire extinguisher, the stairway lined with bodies that led to a landing with even more. And the second-floor doorway was choked with victims, people who died as they ran for their lives.
We had a report of people trapped inside, and yet there was not a sound coming from inside. It was just devastating. It was just devastating. As quick as you would pick a body up, there would be 2 bodies under it. Some of them fused together from the heat.
Firefighters say they did the best with what they had, but department budget cuts have left 70% of the city's fire stations understaffed, which may or may not have made a life or death difference. With normal staffing, the first engine company on the scene would have been able to move 2 hose lines into the building. But because the responding engine company was undermanned, firefighters were able to attack the fire with only 1 hose. And they say it was at least 2 minutes before a second engine company arrived to put more water on the fire.
I like to think 1 second can make a difference.
Firefighters say it's something they may never know.
Well, I'm going to hold my head up. I'm going to try and put this behind me. Won't be easy.
We are told now that at least 100 firefighters and rescue workers are behind closed doors tonight with counselors. We're live at the fire scene in the South Bronx. N.J. Burkett, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Recapping this horrific story, 87 people are dead in a fire in a social club in the Tremont section of the Bronx. A disc jockey is the only known injured survivor to have escaped the club called Happy Land. Relatives and people on the street gathered in prayer across from the club. Many have not been able to locate or even identify their loved ones. An hour or so ago, Mayor Dinkins announced the arrest of one Julio Gonzalez on charges of arson and murder. Gonzalez is reported to be 36, a resident of Buchanan Place. His girlfriend worked at the club. Bouncers threw him out this morning. Gonzalez reportedly said, "I will be back." Mayor Dinkins says hundreds of similar illegal social clubs that may be fire traps exist in this city. He has ordered a task force to begin the immediate crackdown.
This has been a very difficult day for everyone involved, and we have more horrifying news, this time coming out of Clifton, New Jersey tonight, where police have found the bodies of 3 people. We will have that story coming up on Eyewitness News.
But first, the sights and sounds of a disaster waiting to happen.
It is a scene that would move anybody.
It's hard to come and know that there are so many people that have died.
Well, it's happening. I guess I'm just going to have to cope with it.
I've never seen anything like this. Never seen anything that could compare to this.
6. The aftermath and arrest. Julio Gonzalez did not escape. After setting the fire, he fled but was later found by police at his sister's apartment. He confessed to starting the fire and showed no immediate remorse. He was charged with 87 counts of murder and later sentenced to life in prison without parole. The building owner and others involved in running the illegal club faced charges as well, though many people felt accountability did not go far enough. 7. Public outrage and grief. New York City was shaken. Vigils were held across the Bronx. Churches overflowed with mourners. Makeshift memorials filled the sidewalks near the burned building. People asked difficult questions. How could a club like this operate openly? Why were safety laws ignored? Why were immigrant communities allowed to be placed at such risk? The tragedy forced the city to confront how vulnerable communities were being overlooked. 8. Changes in law and safety enforcement. The Happy Land fire led to real change. New York City. Strengthened enforcement of fire codes. Increased inspections of nightlife venues. Cracked down on illegal clubs. Improved coordination between city agencies. Increased penalties for code violations. Fire safety education also became a priority, especially in immigrant communities. While these changes came too late for the 87 victims, they helped prevent future tragedies. 9. Remembering Happy Land today. Today, the site of the Happy Land Social Club is marked by a memorial plaque honoring the victims. Every year, families, survivors, and community members gather to remember those who were lost. The fire remains one of the deadliest nightclub fires in U.S. history, and it is still studied by fire safety officials and urban planners. But beyond statistics, Happy Land is remembered as a warning. What happens when profit, neglect, and indifference are allowed to override human life? 10. Why this story still matters. Even decades later, the Happy Land fire is relevant. Illegal venues still exist. Fire codes are still ignored. Domestic violence still escalates into public tragedy. Immigrant communities are still vulnerable. Remembering Happy Land reminds us that safety laws are not just rules, they are lifelines. It also reminds us that every life lost had value, dreams, and people who love them. Conclusion. On March 25, 1990, a place meant for joy became a place of unimaginable loss. The Happy Land Social Club fire was preventable. The deaths were not inevitable. And the responsibility belongs not just to one man, but to a system that failed to protect its people. By remembering this tragedy, we honor the victims, and we reaffirm our responsibility to ensure that something like this never happens again. Thank you.